Hello, this is Will Morris. I'm stopping past the Contest of Challengers podcast bunker to introduce my new Image miniseries, Gospel. Gospel is a historical fantasy for anyone that's ever felt they had something to live up to. Join adventurers Matilda and Pitt as they discover that when opportunity refuses to knock, the devil comes knocking instead. Patrick and Dow have been really supportive, so if you like stories about story, adventure, devils, and friends that stumble, fall, and rise again, make sure to grab your copy at Challengers.
For any occasion, so keep Pat and Dow waiting. Comics and conversation, keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dale Bush.
How about that?
Pretty great, right?
Right?
God.
Very excited to have Gospel on our shelves this Wednesday.
Yeah, it's. I really enjoyed the first issue. I think you really enjoyed it. I don't know if Molly's read it yet, but yeah, it's certainly one that we want people to read and, let us know what they think about it.
A lot of books throw out Miyazaki-esque comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
This is merited.
Yeah,
I think that the art
a little bit.
definitely
Sure.
can fall into that scheme, especially the color choices and the mood and whatnot.
Sure.
Yeah. It feels like there's always a small renaissance of times when there's upcoming books we can get excited about.
Yeah, I've been on the record a bunch of times looking at the Image catalog for a given month and being like, boy, I miss the days of Saga #1 and Fatale #1 and all these huge books. And certainly there are a number each week of Image releases where it's like, really, you said yes to this book. You thought this was the thing that should be on the stands. Like, you thought this was pushing the medium forward. But they genuinely do have things like Gospel come out where it's like, wow, this was a really smart pickup. Like, this looks like it's going to be a good book. It looks like it's not like other things that are out on the stands. The quality of material is great. Like, it kind of validates a lot of the, no, Image still has it.
Yeah, and then as we talked about last week, All Against All.
I read that. That was great.
I read that.
Oof.
Really liked the art in that.
Oh, man, it was good.
Casper Weingard.
Yeah.
It's
every project
so
he does
stylistically
is better than the one before.
Yeah.
Like, I liked his stuff in Angelic a lot, and then he went to go do Dr. Afro with Cy Spurrier, and I'm like, this is really good, really solid. So much so that when they brought another artist on afterwards, I was like, oh, I don't want to read this book anymore.
And then Homesick Pilots.
And then Homesick Pilots was better than that, and then All Against All is better than that. Like, that's very cool to see an artist still finding a new gear. Like, there's a lot of people you hit, your biggest projects, and then everything after that is kind of like either just reiterating it or, trying stuff stylistically that you kind of can't get to. But he keeps reaching for stuff and actually finding really good solutions to artistic problems. I dug it. All Against All is great. Gospel's great. I know I assume you've read it. Plush?
Yeah, Plush. Plush is definitely...
Is that this week? I think it's this week.
No.
Is it FOC this
FOC
week?
this week.
Oh, okay.
Plush is in the same world as vinyl and plastic, and it is cannibalistic, furry serial killers.
Sure. There was another store that had promoted it in their weekly email, and I feel like they kind of misunderstood the premise.
Yeah.
Because they were definitely treating it like stuffed animals come to life.
Oh, no.
And it's like, no.
No, it's basically, and I don't want to give too much of the plot away because the first issue is a lot of setup, but it's
a guy gets dragged to a furry convention.
A guy gets dragged to a furry convention who doesn't want to be there, and he stumbles across something he definitely doesn't want to be a part of. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna get more insane. Anybody who followed vinyl to the end, that book just kept escalating as it went on.
I guess it's kind of what you want from Doug Wagner. He's the writer.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of what you want from him at this point.
And just today I read...
Like when he started, like Plastic was one of those concepts where it's like, oh, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then like every other project is just equally kind of weird.
Yeah, but then it ratchets up from crazy to
Sure.
insane to
Sure.
what the fuck?
Yeah. You were saying though,
I read Local Man today.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Really liked it. It is
That's the Tim
written
Seeley.
and drawn by Tim Seeley and Tony Fleecs, and
Oh,
it
right.
feels a little bit
Tony
like...
Fleecs from Stray Dogs.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels a little like Stray Dogs and Revival combined.
That's great.
It's basically as if Shaft gets kicked out of Youngblood for a thing we don't know about, but we think it's fooling around with somebody else's girlfriend.
Okay.
And then he has to go back to his hometown, move in with his parents, but everybody hates him because he's a national disgrace.
Oh, okay, sure.
And
That sounds pretty good.
trying to pick up your life there when you're a washed-out superhero
Okay.
who is legally not allowed to fight crime.
Okay. Do they have a projected release date for this?
Yeah, it's February.
February? Is
Yeah.
it Image?
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's like you get introduced to their Youngblood. It's not Youngblood. I'm saying that as a point of reference.
Yeah,
But-
there's things you read a book and you're like, okay, you're riffing on this, and
Yeah.
that's fine.
And-
Like,
and
I think it's fair game at this point.
They're not a big part of it at all, but you do get introduced to all those characters and all
Sure.
what their powers are, and
I'm sure it's pretty goofy.
it is. But it's just a small town drama,
Right.
which is what made Revival so great.
Sure.
But it's also, I feel like, as someone who's read both Stray Dogs and most of what Tim Seeley's written, I feel like you can tell who wrote what,
Sure.
and I think the book is better for it being both creators.
Yeah, I mean, this is...
And Tony Fleecs' art is, he does the majority of the art in the book,
Sure.
and it is excellent.
I mean, getting to
It is not what I was expecting from coming off Stray Dogs, but of course he didn't draw Stray Dogs.
Getting back to what you're saying about Tim working well with another creator, I mean, that was, I think, retroactively a thing that people really enjoyed about Grayson was it not just being a Tom King book or a Tim Seeley book. It was their two voices and kind of
No
how
one knew
you...
who Tom King was.
No, but now. I mean, they keep doing omnibuses, They keep
Yeah.
reissuing omnibuses.
So anyway, those are just 3 upcoming Image books that are staggered, in the next month or two. Oh, 4, counting Plush. I mean, Plush is in my wheelhouse, and I really love plastic and vinyl, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have the, I don't know, Challenger's legs that I think the other 3 do.
Plush?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure
What-
it'll do just as well as vinyl did.
Right, but I'm saying
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tricky because I think Plush
it's a
has...
solid book, but I think we already kind of know what it's going to sell.
Sure.
Whereas Gospel and All Against All and Local Man, the sky's the limit at this point.
Right, but the problem with those 3 is that we have to hand sell those. We
Yeah.
have to talk about them on podcasts and put them in
mean,
emails and
same.
literally put them in people's hands.
So there was a couple in today, and they had a Deadly Class on hold.
Okay.
And they met Wes Craig at C2E2.
Neat.
And they knew he'd signed our wall, so looking for that. But they immediately stopped at the front table, and we're looking at things. And for each book they picked up, I'm like, oh, this is, that's what this book is. Or that's what Homesick Pilots is, or whatever.
Sure.
And one of them turned to me and said, wow, you've got, like, the best pitches for all those books. And I said, well, that's what we're supposed to do here, isn't it?
I hope.
Like, for as much as we know creators do not like having their books compared to something else, or like having the thing that they poured their heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears
the
into.
The unique identity of their thing boiled down to a sentence.
Yeah, but one of the 2 people, they were talking about a book, and I know the book, and I know the creator, but I can't remember it. It's that Calvin and Hobbes-esque Supernatural Detective series that was done by like
Spencer and
SourcePoint.
Locke?
Spencer and Locke. That's exactly what it was. Good job,
Yeah.
Dal. So
I'm
they
good
were
at my job too.
they were trying to reference Spencer and Locke, and on the one hand, you think, oh, you want your property to be unique, but when you say Calvin and Hobbes meets Supernatural, any fan of those 2 things says, yeah, I want that.
Yeah.
So the comparisons are necessary and helpful.
Sure.
And then
Saga was Game of Thrones meets Star Wars.
yeah. And then she pointed out, she's like, well, if you take 2 things and mix them together, you have created something new. So it is a new thing.
Sure.
I'm like, and we never mean to diminish a thing by saying, oh, it's like this meets this.
Yeah, and the
But this meets this is the best. And I've said this 1,000 times. Like, if you want to get me into your band, tell me it's Sammy Hagar meets Queensryche.
Yeah, tell me what other bands it sounds
Yeah,
like.
tell me
so
what
I know
bands
if
I
it's
love
in
that
my
it's
wheelhouse.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like getting
If
back
you
to
say, oh, it's like early Iron Maiden meets later Fate's Warning, I know in my head, I'm like, oh, this is a thing for me.
Sure, but getting back to the Saga thing, like there are times where you start with that, like, well, I don't know what Saga is. Oh, it's this project meets this project. Okay, great, I want it. And then suddenly you're 10 years later, and other things are being compared to Saga. Like the lead-in is Saga meets something else. So like even that thing that once upon a time could have come off as derivative because it's X meets Y, builds its own identity and creates its own fan base that then wants things like Saga. You know,
we could also use less of that in the industry. Stop comparing your book to Saga.
There was a period 5 years in on Saga where it was still coming out regularly, where so many image pitches were Saga meets something, and it's like throttle back a little bit on that. Like, okay, I get it. It's the biggest hit in the industry, but come on.
I've mentioned this before too. In the music industry, it's always our most commercially successful album meets our most critically acclaimed album.
Oh, great.
For Kiss, it's always
easy.
Destroyer meets the last high-selling album.
Sure.
And that was a thing for forever. And when I saw Anne Boleyn recently, they're like, hey, we've got a new EP out. It's one of our favorite things we've ever done. I know we're supposed to say that. I know that bands are always supposed to say that. But let's face it. We put out 7 albums so far. There's some stinkers in there. We can say that. But this one is great.
Yeah, I think once you get to that level of output, it may be a little easier to look back and go, yeah, that one didn't quite come through.
Yeah.
Because you can lean on like, but this one really did, and I know it did, and you know it did,
well,
and we're all
such
agreed that it did.
An entertainment industry thing, like, oh, well, this thing that I raved about at the time, since it didn't do well, let me tell you why it did horribly and it wasn't my fault. But I just like that we put out some stinkers, we can admit it.
Here's how someone else dropped the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, speaking of drop the ball.
Yes.
Are you sitting down?
I can. All right, now I am.
Lunar's not arriving till Monday.
What?
And it's 3 boxes because it's
it's a gigantic week. Oh, man. Yeah, boy, receiving all of the DC stuff with all of the PRH stuff is going to make Monday a nightmare.
Not
and
only
that's
that,
definitely going to be the day where all that stuff shows up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Not only that, we didn't even get next week's PRH graphic novels today. And we almost always do.
No. Hooray.
Yeah. There's people talking about how it's their biggest Lunar invoice ever.
Sure.
There's also on next week's Lunar invoice, which this is how backed up Lunar is. They haven't even. I'm sorry, I say invoice, but that's the wrong terminology for them. Invoice is when you get a bill to be paid.
Right.
Shipment is when you get a manifest what's coming out.
Correct.
So for the following week's shipment, we've got a stack of non-DC books on the invoice as well from all sorts of publishers.
Okay. We have started getting
special orders.
Well, I was going to say some subscriptions for some of the non-DC Lunar publishers.
Yeah.
That we would normally not carry for the shelf, but subscribers said they want them, so we said okay.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the whole point of this.
Yeah. And people are seeing stuff on Managed Comics. Which, speaking of which, I have to look into this, but I do believe I need to email all of our subscribers tonight to let them know that, according to Brian in the Thought Stream this week, FOCs now close on Managed Comics at midnight on Saturday.
As opposed to?
Sometime on Sunday.
Okay. Can you rephrase that, but using the 11:59 p.m. as your guide?
I think that's actually when they close, 11:59 p.m.
On what day?
Saturday.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's Eastern or Central. I gotta look into a thing that he said. It was a request that I guess a lot of stores had made, and I can see why. Because we do Lunar FOCs, Final Order Cutoffs, close our orders.
What does Managed Comics call it?
Final.
Not final. They don't
anymore. I think
they've got a different terminology for it now.
Oh, I think it's like Final Order or something. Regardless, I don't care. We call it FOC because that's what the industry terminology has always been. I get that Brian wanted to change it to something more transparent for people who are using the front end of Managed Comics. I'm not. I call it FOC. So we do our Lunar FOCs on Sunday because they close Sunday night. Because Managed Comics keeps FOCs open through at least the end of the day Sunday, I will frequently have people doing nothing wrong, placing lunar orders as I'm doing the lunar FOCs. So I have to keep either checking back.
Okay, so this is a good thing.
I was going to say, so I either have to keep checking back or have to wait long enough for them to finish, and then I can go in and finally do the lunar FOCs. So, in principle, the FOCs being something that the customers can stop interacting with Saturday night rather than Sunday night is great for me.
I like how you say, can stop interacting. Or like, have to.
But on the other hand, I don't know exactly when this takes effect, so it might be this week, and I definitely, if that's the case, need to email people tonight to say, hey, by the way, do not plan on doing this Sunday afternoon because they're not going to be there. And while you can still message me and say, I want these things, it's way harder for you to do that, and then I have to go in and put everything in the system. So hopefully I'm wrong on this, and this is a change that has been made at Managed Comics for future comics, in future catalogs, not literally stuff this week. But I got to go in and double check.
So people cannot subscribe or pre-order or special order Batman Spawn anymore because that FOC closed.
It did.
Is it worth having an in-store sign-up sheet for people that want to make sure they get it because we can't just direct them to the website anymore? But also, can we just say, yes, we'll put your name down, no, you can't pick your cover, you're only going to get the A cover?
So both situations I would probably say no to at this point. Because I can't guarantee that we can increase our numbers, and the idea of more and more of our shelf copies, even the A cover, disappearing for pre-orders, that, and this is maybe not fair to say, but I'll say it anyway, might not get picked up.
Yeah, fair.
Is we're now in the situation of, like, you had your window to pre-order, we put a sign up in the window, you missed it, you got to come in.
Okay.
At which point, we also might want to take down the banner in the window because you can't place pre-orders anymore.
Does it say pre-order now?
It does.
Oh.
We can change it to say something else, but then we'd have to print out a new banner.
Yeah. We can just slide something up to cover that part.
Or we can just take it down.
Well, I still want people to get excited that it's coming out.
Sure. We have plenty of pre-orders for it.
Well, that's good. And also, I don't know that I'd worry about the number of shelf copies going away because I obviously didn't do FOCs, but I assume we ordered way higher on that than we did Deadly Duo, and we ordered really high on Deadly Duo.
I think Deadly Duo is returnable.
Oh yeah, good point. It absolutely is. Yeah, that helps.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Deadly Duo we took a big swing on because it's like, well,
we can give these back.
Yeah. Believe me, if I think we talked about this, maybe not on the air. If Batman Spawn had been returnable, I probably would have gone at least twice as high as we did.
Okay. That's fair.
Since it's like a $7 book and it's non-returnable.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we're going to sell out. I don't know.
Can't wait for that week's Lunar Bill.
Sure.
For anybody complaining about this week in Death of Superman.
I think Death of Superman also returnable. I think. Like, that's what was so frustrating about Batman Spawn, is that everything in the way DC releases books is first issues of miniseries are returnable, first issues of ongoing series are returnable, second issues of both of those are returnable, first issues of, like, one-shots are returnable for at least, like, the open order variants. Batman Spawn, non-returnable, good luck. Like, all right, I'm going to order lower now.
You know where that came from. Only half the companies involved offer returnability.
But this is a DC release. I can't imagine that Image or Todd McFarlane specifically had that much veto power to say, like, no, make it non-returnable. Didn't, I don't know, haven't some of the Spawn books been returnable at some point? Maybe, I don't know. I'm just guessing on that. I feel like they must have been at some point. Did you see IDW?
If they were, we definitely would not have boxes full of...
Not everyone. Did you see IDW's announcement today?
I saw that there was one. I did not see it. Enlighten me.
In the PRH FOC email.
Yeah.
IDW mentioned that the rest of the IDW originals for 2022 are all going to be returnable.
Great.
Because in 2023, they're not going to be returnable anymore.
Oh, yay.
Yep. That was the carrot and the stick.
So,
but don't worry, they're working on new promotions
so
they can do to get people.
How is that happening?
Yeah, honest to God, when I saw that, I'm just like, oh, great. We are going to order very minimally on any new IDW original going forward. And, like, there's been ones that we ordered at a higher level because it was returnable, and a lot of them got returned. But there's other ones where it's like, oh, we actually found a higher audience for some of these books, or maybe more specifically, oh, cool, we had a bunch of extra copies when everyone decided for 5 days that they wanted Dark Spaces Wildfires because they thought they could flip it for more online.
And what a great twist
and
in the
then
last
no one
issue.
wanted 2, 3, and 4. Boy, oh boy.
They should, though. It's such a good book.
No one read it.
I did.
They just
I
bought
love
it to
it.
flip it.
I thought it was good.
It's frustrating the number of publishers that are moving to non-returnability on new launches because it's just making me order more and more conservatively.
Of course.
Why stick
You
my
have
neck
to.
out? There's too many new releases. The sales window for anything is so slim, and I literally cannot afford to get behind something that I guess wrong on. I mean, it's one thing if it's something I believe in. Like, we went higher on Gospel despite it being non-returnable, frustratingly, because we believe in the book. We read it, we thought it was good.
Yeah.
But if I don't believe in it, or I haven't had a chance to read it, and it's non-returnable, it's like, sub-numbers are going to determine how much chance I think this book has. If no one subscribes, I'm going to assume no one wants it. I'm going to order real low. If a bunch of people pre-order it, I'm going to assume there's an audience, and I'm going to order more. That's it. That's the math.
That's the thing
All it
with
comes down
Managed
to.
Comics now. We definitely have a lot more active subscribers
Truly.
who are proactively order. But when I say active, I mean people that are constantly working on their lists, not just telling us what to do, like, oh, add this for me.
Yeah.
People that are browsing and adding, but that's not increasing orders for smaller press books. I mean, we did say yes to some lunar things here and there, but not enough. Like, there's people finding books that we wouldn't necessarily carry.
No, for sure.
But there's nobody that's
it's not an
taking a
all-the-time
book
thing.
that we didn't have any faith in and elevating it to a point where we do have faith. Because readers have that power. The people that shop at our store, our subscribers, have the power to change our minds on a book before it comes out if they get behind it.
Well, I guess the
And
difference
that
is
never happens.
they can't make us necessarily, I'm sure there have been instances in the past, but generally not, get us to order something that we don't think has sales potential. Like, even if we get 2 or 3 pre-orders for it, it might still be a thing of okay, there's 2 or 3 people who want that, but I don't want to have it on my shelves, or I don't think it's going to sell. But what they can do is increase the amount we get behind a book. Like, if I was already going to carry a Marvel book, but it was I don't know, maybe we get 10 copies for the shelf, but we suddenly get 6 people signing up for it, it's okay, probably going to go to 15 on that, or 20. Clearly there's an audience, and it more so for variant covers, but it does work on regular series. There's times I see a listing for something, I'm I don't think that's got an audience, and then you suddenly see over the month, a bunch of people have signed up for it, and it's okay, well, I underestimated that, and we should probably order some for the shelf.
Or occasionally a special order of a graphic novel you've never heard of, and you think, what is this? Oh, that sounds good.
Sure, and then you find out it was just an employee who ordered it, and you went, oh no.
I mean, I will say, and I'm not saying employees, but I will say
Sure.
there are certain subscribers we have that when you see a book, you're like, oh, I bet it's one of these 2 people that ordered it.
Yep.
And it does, actually, there's a handful of people. It's it doesn't inspire that level of shelf confidence,
No, sometimes because you know someone's tastes, and you know how little they overlap with the general audience. So then pre-ordering it doesn't mean wow, there's an audience. It's just no, there's a very niche audience, and I don't think we could sell 2 copies of that.
The biggest employee influence with special orders for me has always been Samantha with manga.
For sure.
Oh, if she's interested in a manga, let's take a look at this.
Right.
And I always said, hey, as you're going through previews and looking at stuff, if you think we should order it for the shelf, write it down. Just say, oh, get this one. But she doesn't want that, not responsibility. She doesn't want us to blame her if it doesn't sell.
Yeah, that's fair.
So she doesn't. So I still just have to look at what she's ordering and decide if it's worth carrying.
Sure.
And I know manga's a different beast right now anyway for us.
Yeah.
But then there's the level of you can always say, oh, Gina's down for this, Lizzie's going to want it.
Yes.
Or
always.
vice versa.
Always.
Nah, I mean, it's not 100%, but it's 90-something%.
Very frequently.
Yeah. I mean, for example, Lizzie always gets Nib, but Gina doesn't.
Yeah.
But Andrew does.
Yeah.
But not because Lizzie gets it. They just independently of each other got it.
So, Lizzie, Gina, Andrew, there's... I wouldn't say there's a lot of overlap there, but there definitely is some.
I mean, maybe. Mainstream stuff, definitely, but Yeah, Lizzie is great at finding older books that came out, and it would always be a case of she'd write down, here's everything off the new catalog. It's like, all right, now we need to go through this list and figure out what's a relist that we can just reorder.
Because sometimes you look through the Fantagraphics and Toronto Quarterly sections, and it's like, it's not clear.
Yeah.
I don't know how old this is.
So this is a month where we get a little bit of a break. We get an extra week to do ordering because orders aren't due until the Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool.
This was a 5-week month. Not a 5-week month, a 5-week order window. Because there's been a couple of short ones recently.
Yeah, I mean, the FOCs are going the other direction, where a lot of stuff is getting closed out 5 and 6 weeks out rather than 3. We already closed our orders on Batman Spawn 2 months before the book came out.
Literally 3 days after the orders went in Thursday, we had FOC it on Sunday.
Yeah. There's something else that's doing that, where it's like they just showed off a cover that then closes on Sunday or something, like some one-shot. And that stuff's getting real frustrating, because it's all over the place. Like, I'm FOCing some Marvel stuff that has been 6 weeks since the last issue came out, which means I have a ton of sales data, and I'm like, okay, cool, I can order this.
Yeah.
And then again, there's other stuff where it's like, I'm ordering 2 issues out. I don't know what the sales numbers are going to be like. If it's a mature series, as in it's been going for a while, I have a sense of like, okay, well, it's not going to fluctuate too much. But if it's like issue 3, I don't know.
That's what I like about some of the FOC groups, where people will go through what's on FOC for the week and give their thoughts. And every single time it's like, hey, we're ordering issue 2 when issue 1 hasn't come out. Our store is ordering subs only.
Yeah,
they're militant about that rule. Like, if you're not going to let us get sales data, we're not going to stock your book.
I have a real tough time doing that. I understand.
I understand
that mentality, and I kind of like. There's a part of me that applauds it and wishes I had that sort of ruthlessness. But I'll go lower. Again, it's a thing of like, I won't have confidence in it.
Yeah.
But I would rarely do a thing of like, I'm going to cut my numbers to the bone because screw you guys. Like,
I appreciate them sticking to their guns on that.
Yeah. Again, I sort of applaud the ruthlessness.
I feel a little less connected, a little more disconnected from ordering now, since
you don't unpack all this stuff.
I don't unpack it all, and I haven't for months now ordered Marvel or IDW. I just plug in special orders.
That's true.
That's all. Because you guys fix it on the back end on FOCs.
And honestly, I feel that way sometimes about the Diamond stuff, because I don't do initial orders for Diamond and I don't do FOCs for Diamond.
I didn't.
So frequently I forget like what's coming out when, or like what did we get behind or whatever, because Molly and I don't necessarily have discussions about FOCs, even though we're working on them in the store while the other person's there. Like, occasionally I might say something like, angrily about how little information or how far out we're ordering something, or all the stuff I literally just said. And occasionally she'll bring up, something that's confusing on FOCs, but rarely is it a thing of like, I don't know what we should order. What do you think? What do you think? And then we discuss it.
Yeah. Often's a harsh word. On occasion, we'll be unpacking the Diamond books and find a book, a title, or a cover, and just be so shocked that we have it. And I go to you two and I say, why do we have this book? And Dal says, I didn't do FOCs.
I am completely fine owning my decisions and my mistakes. But at the same time, there's 3 of us who do this now, so it's like...
Yeah, we'll have the discussion after Marvel Tales Cross-Gen
include me out of this discussion, We sold at least 1 off the shelf.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Will it make up for the 2 we don't sell?
Haven't sold yet.
Yeah, and I mean, it's fine if whoever's ordering has a good reason for why they ordered it, but I feel like we don't get a good reason. We get a reason, not a good enough reason.
Well, occasionally it's a reason that you and I have very similar philosophies, short of cross-gen tales, about the sort of stuff that we want to see on the shelves and the kind of things that we want to spend our money on.
Let's drill down into the narrative of this. Why do you want to see Marvel Tales Cross-Gen on the shelves? You don't. You think we can sell it. Yes. You don't want to see it on the shelf.
I mean, see it on the shelves for the new release period.
Okay.
Like, see it on the new this week section. Like, I think this should be there because I think people are going to buy it. like how we come to that decision, the products we pick, and the amount of copies that we stock. You and I have, decades of working together to kind of like synthesize
Three
good
decades of working together.
What we consider good ordering strategies, like the philosophies behind them and the logic about what gets picked and what doesn't. Molly is very new to that. So Molly is bringing a completely different set of criteria at times to the stuff that she thinks will do well or should be on the shelves. And occasionally it's something that doesn't overlap with our sensibilities. And we look at it as like, why would you do this? And it's like, when she explains it, I understand why, but it's still a thing of like, I would have said no.
When Molly was hired, she was hired to bring a fresh perspective and to not do things the way we do them because it's the way we do them. But as time goes on, I feel like I just want to say, no, do it our way. Like, you had your chance to show us a different way to do things, and you're not.
Well, two things. One, nothing she's done as far as ordering stuff that you or I would not have has been so detrimental to the store that it's devastated our business. It's always just been like, that's $5 I wouldn't have spent or whatever. But it's like, it's $5. It will not be the end of the world. On the other hand, there is maybe a sense of like, again, you and I have kind of synthesized things where you have a perspective and I have a perspective, and over time we start to learn each other's perspective and the pros and cons of it to start to think like, I'm not just ordering what I would order, I'm trying to order what Patrick would order or how he might do it, and sort of finding a middle ground for that. And Molly is not at the stage yet where she's 100% internalized that. I think she's 60% internalized that. So there's a sense of like knowing our customers and knowing what sells and dealing with it on Wednesdays and Thursdays to sort of understand like, this is what you care about that people are going to respond to, and this is what you care about that people won't respond to. We just have to kind of get her that extra 40% of the way there.
And that's fine. And I want her to respond to things that I wouldn't respond to get people to buy them. But I also want better reasoning behind it.
Sure. Yeah, it's one of the most difficult things in ordering is, bringing your own kind of confidence and your own enthusiasm to it. Again, like something like Gospel, where we're genuinely excited about it. We've read the book. We really like it. We want it to do well. We want people to read it and enjoy it. Taking that sort of personal enthusiasm, but then sort of limiting it a little bit by like market realities. Like we didn't order Gospel #1 on the level that we ordered Batman Spawn. Because as much as we might personally prefer Gospel to Batman Spawn, the market is different.
Right, sure.
So we have to kind of, be a little bit realistic with our ordering for Gospel, as opposed to just ordering, our excitement. Because, again, we have to hand sell these things. So the thing that you're excited about that the market may not necessarily be primed for isn't something you have to avoid ordering, but it's something you have to be aware, like, you have to tell people why they want to read this. How much of that can you do in a week?
Yeah.
You're only going to get so many opportunities. So many people are going to be willing to say, tell me about this book. So you have to order towards that number rather than just, it should sell as well as Saga. Well, it's not going to, so don't order that.
I see stores doing things this week like banned book displays or starting holiday displays. And
what kind of bands? I know you meant the
Queensryche.
Banned band.
Queensryche has a new album out, and Avantasia, what?
Vault,
Avantasia just came out.
Vault, I think, just announced their like Z2 style imprint where it's like all music based stuff. Was it Vault?
Can I just say how much I don't like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we don't order most of the
No,
stuff.
I don't care. And for the most part,
that stuff to me is total pre-order only. Like if you're a huge fan of whatever metal group or Tori Amos or whatever,
I think
go ahead and order it.
Great, I think we're getting a Joan Jett one for the shelf this week.
Oh, okay.
But that said,
we did a lot of those when Image was doing them.
When Molly really wanted to do the new Tori Amos one, I'm like, no, Tori Amos already had one. That time is over.
Yeah, we were hauling around the Spearmint one that Image did because Kieran Gillen's like, I want to do a Spearmint one. And all the great British artists are going to do Spearmint. And everyone in the U.S. is like, I don't know who that is. And could not have cared less about an anthology based on the Songs of Spearmint. And that was when we were like, oh, we're done with this. No
Look,
more.
Kiss had a major influence in my life, and we don't carry Dynamite Kiss comics anymore.
No doubt.
We barely ever did. We all right. Look, we'll carry Poppy graphic novels, but she writes them now. They're not just about her. She writes them.
If a publisher
Yeah.
did an authorized and with involvement from Taylor Swift anthology, would that be something you think we should carry?
Yeah, because Taylor Swift transcends media.
Okay.
I mean,
I just feel like our store would do better with like a Ghost one than a Taylor Swift one.
I think our store would do great with a Ghost one, but I think I think the general public would just flock to stores for a Taylor Swift one.
Okay.
Yeah. Why would you know?
I don't. I have no
I
inside
honestly
knowledge.
thought your analogy was going to be Anne Boleyn, and I'd be like,
that would be like saying a Super Chunk one. No, I don't think it would do well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll carry the Our Noise Oral History of Merge novel,
sure,
prose book, but no,
Our Noise. I believe off the top of my head, the title is Our Noise: The Story of Merge Records.
Top of your head,
Cook, McCon, and Balance.
Yep,
are the writers. That's not a subtitle.
No, it's not. No, I picked Taylor Swift because I was thinking, like, we don't carry music-related anthologies, but what about, like, one of the biggest artists in the world?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, does that change the equation? And
but
I guess it does.
If you say, what about Robbie Williams, who now has more gold records than the Beatles?
Does he really?
Yeah.
Robbie Williams is still making music?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So my answer to that would be no.
No. And I mean, we've carried Beatles ones. We've carried multiple Beatles ones.
What about Dua Lipa? The answer is yes if we could do a signing.
I suppose that would be true for a lot of artists. If we could do a signing, yes, I would do the book. Like, it doesn't even have to be an artist I'm a huge fan of. If I think they have a big audience,
yeah,
sure, we'll carry it and do a signing for it.
We will get our Poppy signing one day if she's still doing comic signings.
Do you remember a million years ago when we thought there was even a sliver of a chance that we could get Gerard Way in for a My Chemical Romance Umbrella Academy?
Do you remember even earlier than that where you thought you could get Super Chunk to do an acoustic set and even put them on the store cam?
Oh, the store cam thing was just an internal joke thing. That was never for the public. But no, we did reach out at one point because they were performing in Chicago and they were looking for places to do an acoustic set, and I threw our name in the hat for Merge Records to be like, hey, by the way.
Wasn't there at least like a follow-up discussion? It wasn't just a no, it was how big is your place?
Something like that. They wanted some more details, but it was never a serious thing. It was always going to be like Reckless or someplace.
Serpent Crown guitarist Chris Carlson years ago asked me, he's like, who would you want to like perform in the store? And at that time, like, I don't know, Gene the Werewolf. He's like, let's see if we can make it happen. We never did.
No,
I've never seen Gene the Werewolf live. I don't know if Gene the Werewolf tours.
So from having musicians play in the store before across a variety of different events, at this point, my yes to a musician performing in the store of any caliber would be only acoustic.
Yeah, it gets very loud in the neighbors upstairs.
I feel real bad for our upstairs neighbors whenever anyone plugs in. It's like, it's got to be acoustic. I'm sorry. Like, that may not be what you're used to, but we are a bookstore and we have people who live right above us. It can't be electric. I'm sorry.
Free Comic Book Days past, we've had half of Ginchi. We had Wednesday's Heroes.
Yeah.
We've had more bands. We're not going to list bands we've had, but we've had bands playing the store.
Yes.
And probably will again. Who knows?
Yeah, again.
There's less room, though. There's definitely less room for bands to set up.
When we want to do it, we always find a way. Like, that's almost always been the case of, like, how do we make this work? And it's like, if we get excited enough about it, a solution presents itself.
It's a new month, and it's now time to thank our Patreon supporters, including our annual patrons, Becca Hilburn and Joseph Coco, Brent Helt, Dal's mom, Diane Bush, Philip Sablik from Boom Studios, Jose Villagomez, Josh Crowley of Westfield Comics, our bestest wrestling watching pal, Michael Lee, Michael Romanenko, Mike Loveday, our patrons who have created their own tier, Andrew, Drew Troit Comics, Aaliyah, Bridget K. Neville, Chris Burton, Claudine Neville, our other generous patrons from the Say My Name pledge level: Arun Singh, Ben-Hur Benedict Calaguas, Bradley Rader, Braden, Managed Comic Zone, Brian Garside, Christopher Haith, President of the Brian Garside Fan Club, Django Boren, Drew Triner and Ashley Edwards, Challengers Reservist, Fallon Mackerline, my brother George Brower, Heidi D., Jacob Sorelli of Kamikaze, Josh Trigg, Mark Hammond of Oh Yeah Comics, Margie, Keith, Logan, and Malcolm Springham, Marcuson Nasso, Matt Armstrong, Mitchell Davies of All Star Comics in Melbourne, Australia, Morgan Dynamite Perry, Nick Baldwin, my longtime pal Robert Burns, Ron Payne, Ryan Hecht, Sean Bowers, Tad Eggleston and Johnny Williams, Thomas Nagovin of Century Guild, Walt Grogan. And if you want to hear your name thanked on this very podcast once a month, head over to patreon.com/challengers and pledge at the $5 Say My Name level. And a big thank you to all our other patrons at the various other pledge levels. Thank you, patrons.
I'm grateful too, yes.
Okay, good. I always have to pull it out of
I
you,
didn't
though.
want my silence to be like, I don't appreciate them. I do. I thought that was a thank you from both of us.
Sometimes people just want to hear it.
Oh, okay. Thanks, patrons.
I literally had a place to go right after that, but chastising you made me forget.
You took the more important route.
That's right. Well, I did. I had a whole new topic, but I'm like, wait, let me give a pause here so I can do the Patreon thank yous.
Sure.
Because, it's first podcast of the month.
It is true.
It's a new month.
It is.
That's how it starts. And we've had no changes in our patrons since last month, so yay.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Good job, everybody, but no one knew either. Come on. What is up with that?
Sorry.
Yeah, so speaking of Batman and Spawn, like we were earlier, DC announced a full month of Batman Spawn crossover. I'm sorry, DC Spawn crossover covers.
And they just, while we were recording,
I saw that email come through.
Email. All 10 variant covers revealed. Again, this is for a book. I'm sorry, most of these are closing on Sunday.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I was referencing earlier.
Yeah, but they probably don't come out until
details
February because of holiday FOC.
No, I mean, these all come out in December, I think.
Do they really?
Yeah, I mean,
what?
The stuff we're FOCing for November this weekend, on sale December 6th.
So books like Catwoman or Poison Ivy, or give me one other one. Wildcats will have Spawn covers as well. Did you see Jim Chung gave him teeth?
No, I gotta find that.
Jim Chung gave him a full gridded.
Oh yeah, he did. How weird!
Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Oh god, that's creepy.
So we don't do a lot of variant covers, but we feel like these are covers that people will want.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a lot of imagery you could usually buy that has Spawn and Harley Quinn on it.
And you can't use subscribers as a metric for ordering because
you could
these
Spawn
were
subscribers.
These were just announced.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but you think Spawn subscribers want a Wildcats #1 variant?
They're showing us all 10 covers. Half of them close this week, half of them close next week. So there is no time to really notify people, like, hey, by the way, to stump for orders, which is a thing that DC's been doing lately that is infuriating to me. Is just we have no time to approach our subscribers to notify them about these things. So while you've unified communications across all channels, the window for those communications is now worthless.
I thought you were going to say those channels just all happen to be UHF, so nobody could ever see them.
I guess. I mean, I don't know where... You've shown off 10 covers to me as a retailer Friday night that close Sunday night. Where are you showing people this? How are they supposed to find it over the next 48 hours in time to get their pre-orders in? Again, most
Saturday
of these are
and
not
Sunday,
returnable.
the day when most comic fans are scouring the internet for news sites and information.
Well, historically, you would release news you don't want anyone to know about on Friday night because no one's going to really hear about it until
You mean
Monday.
like mass Twitter layoffs?
For example. Except they announced those Thursday night, so everyone got to talk about it today.
Well, but they didn't announce who they were, just they were coming.
50-50 chance, apparently.
Oh.
What a horrible company.
Yeah, at what point do we quit?
I never signed up.
Yeah.
If you wanted to quit Twitter tomorrow, I'd be okay with it. I'm not involved in our social media, so I don't
feel
get to
more
make any decisions
comic
on it.
creators interact with each other on Twitter than
Okay.
most places.
I certainly wouldn't want to pay $8 a month for a blue check mark.
We're not gonna.
That now no longer even means verification. It's rumored. But yeah,
I was just happy that Twitter was the one platform where we finally got the name we wanted. We got verified.
Mm-hmm.
All the time wasted doing that.
Not wasted.
Yeah, I mean, it was a level
It's
of
not like it
legitimacy.
happened last week.
But it's a level of legitimacy we no longer have.
Sure.
Speaking of legitimacy we don't longer have, as predicted, we did not win
No.
the Best All Ages Section Diamond Best Practice Award.
Correct.
And not only did we not win, the store that I assumed was going to beat us didn't win either.
Oh.
And a store that won, congratulations to them and more
Congrats.
power to them. Their 2 photos, as we recall, Diamond made everyone just use, they just picked 2 photos.
Diamond picked 2 of the 4 you submitted.
Were not very impressive. I'm sure in person their all ages section is great.
Sure.
But I'm also positive that ours is great.
Yes.
And again, we have you know why? It's because we want it. It's because I want it. That's why we don't get it.
Yeah. That's how it works.
We can have
Stop wanting it.
We could have the best Twitter BPA. Speaking of virtually meaningless things.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, we did not get the. And I something about that room, man. There's just no way to photograph the room as a whole in one photo. You can't.
No, you can't.
But people that have like a corner or a small section can because it's small.
Yeah, it looks
We
great.
can't gauge the scope of how vast this room is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shame.
I don't know. And every time, that's it, I'm done trying. And then I try and we win another one. It's like, I'll keep doing this.
Oh, yeah. I think in 3 months, if they were like, we're doing it again, you would absolutely try and figure out, what are 2 photos I know are going to work.
No, but I mean, it'll be 2 years
I know.
minimum
I'm
before
just,
they go.
I'm just saying, if
Yeah.
it was 3 months, you would jump right back
We're
in.
just going to tear that wall down behind the counter. It doesn't really do anything for us anyway.
Originally, I had wanted to make that like a window.
I did too, but
then the realization was, 1, too expensive. 2,
it's a support wall. It's a
for the
loading
entire
wall.
building.
So it's all cinder blocks behind it.
And 3, that's where our computer is, and I don't know that I want people constantly looking behind the counter at all of the stuff we're working on.
But also, we would need to
don't.
take all of those racks off the wall.
Yeah, and
We'd lose a lot of space.
above it or in it something. Yeah, and then you'd also have to lose more of the wall that had drawings on it. So there were a lot of reasons why it ended up being a thing where we just didn't follow through on it.
Oh, there was literally one Saturday years ago, where Sam and I were staying late to do that very thing. We're gonna
To cut a hole in the wall?
We're gonna cut a hole in the wall.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but we realized very quickly, this will never happen.
No. It never did.
Nope. As far as viewing things in that room, something very not exciting, but something I was always wanted happened today. But it is a thing I'll tell you about after the fact. It's
thanks.
a company we work with who introduced some functionality today that I'm very happy with,
Cool.
and it makes life easier in one regard.
Okay, great.
And another thing that happened today was the unboxing of Galactus.
Yeah, how was that?
We did a whole bunch of Instagram stories.
Okay, good.
I told Gina today when she came in, I'm like, you got a special task today. It's not a big task. It's not a huge task. It's not a colossal task. She's like, what, is it small? I go, no, it's galactic.
Wink.
And she's like, you're dumb. But anyway, the Marvel Legends Hasbro crowdfunded Galactus figure is spectacular.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, he's so good. He's all sorts of bits of him light up from his chest to his little neck pieces to his ears to his eyes and his helmet.
I've only done one of the HasLab things so far. I've actually funded 2, but only one's come in so far, which was the Transformers Unicron. I have a Transformers Star Saber that's supposedly coming out by the end of the year. I think they deliver. I mean, the HasLab stuff is not cheap, and people will always complain about the price relative to a mass market thing, but what you get is so much more than they would ever release in a store. Like, they would never do one that has all the bells and whistles for Galactus. You would just get, like, a 12-inch tall Galactus that had, 20 points of articulation, and that's it at the end.
Every finger has 3 joints.
I love it.
It came with Morg.
Because it hit all the stretch goals.
Yeah.
Like,
unlike
Galactus and the Sentinel were the 2 Marvel Legends HasLabs that funded like crazy. Like, Sentinel blew past it because everyone was getting like 3 of them. So it had multiple heads and all these other stuff.
Gina's like, did you get Sentinel too? I'm like, no, I had no interest in that.
No, Galactus was more your thing.
Yeah. So he comes with Morg and his axe, Surfer, surfboard, and a...
Like a hovering stand?
Well, basically Galactus is supposed to hold Nova and Silver Surfer in his hands.
Oh, okay. Frankie Ray Nova.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they mount on these things, but the way these things fit his hands is a mystery because there are no directions or instructions.
That's weird.
There's a tiny little thing that shows you where the batteries go.
Yeah, the batteries, okay.
And then there's a very large booklet that is basically one paragraph about don't let your batteries expire in every human language possible, and even some fake alien ones.
I mean, that's a legitimate thing that you got to be worried about because if you leave batteries in something long enough, they could degrade and
they corrode.
Yeah, and so in general, if you're storing something long term, maybe don't leave the batteries in if you're not playing with it constantly.
I'm just saying it's every single language. That's the thing. There's no other. We're digging through the internet to find people who set theirs up, and we couldn't tell how they were holding them.
Sure.
But he's got
I'll take a look at it later. I'm excited.
3 different faces. He's got closed mouth, stoic one.
Mm-hmm.
He's got
boring,
gritted teeth, angry one.
All right.
And he's got skull.
Oh.
Just dead Galactus.
Weird.
And then he has a completely different head you can put on.
Uh-huh.
Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom, sure.
With the purple tunic.
Have you yet investigated what storyline that comes from?
It was Secret Wars.
Was it Secret Wars?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's what I said. I just didn't know if that was the case or not.
Also, all the heralds have multiple hands and things.
Well, Marvel Legends figures.
Yeah.
You'd expect it.
Yeah. So, I have Firelord, a Marvel Legends Firelord.
Recently released. Retro Firelord.
Yep. I don't have Terrax, but I'll have to hunt one down now.
Sure, you and everybody else.
But I don't think they ever made a Gabriel.
Airwalker?
An Airwalker.
I'll look it up. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they did either.
I'm sure they will now.
And while I do have a place set up in my mind where Galactus is going to go, I don't have room for his heralds around him, per se.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, Galactus is still at the store because I think it's fun to show him off for a while.
That's a shame.
Oh, the box and the heralds made it home, but the Galactus himself...
Unfortunately, if you search Marvel Legends Airwalker, all you're going to get is Airwalker Marvel Legends custom action figure. A lot of people have made an Airwalker, but it looks like they've not released an Airwalker.
Raphael already asked if he could buy it, and I told him, no, it's just for mine. And he's like, darn it. I'm like, look, if it was for sale, he'd be minimum $700.
Yep.
And then I went on eBay. I'm like, what is he selling for right now? $700.
Yeah, I'm sure he's pre-selling for that. When people were doing pre-sales for Unicron, who I think was $650, pre-sales were over $1,000.
Wow. And then Orlando was in. He's like, oh, can I see that up close? No.
No. He's gigantic. He's already kind of up close to you.
You're seeing him in person. And then he went on about how unfair it was that he couldn't get one because you have to pre-order it. I'm like, but that's the fair part about it.
Yeah, you have 45 days to pre-order it. And look, even if you... There have been people who complained about, their finances don't allow for them to, within 45 days, pay the full amount on something. They don't do payment plans. And I can, I have some sympathy for that, for sure. But there are places like BBTS will frequently, I don't know if they did for Galactus, but they've done it for other HasLab ones, sell you the HasLab one where you don't pay until it comes in. You do a deposit that's way less than, what you'd have to pay at Hasbro, but in the end you will pay more for it. they are going to mark it up, and then you're going to pay like 10% of that up front to make sure that they're not going to get burned. So there are options. There are plenty of places that, if you can't afford it up front, will give you essentially a year to come up with the money.
Literally every photo I took of Galactus, I mean, all the stories where I was filming Gina opening them.
Sure.
But then as we were doing, like, hey,
You didn't
you're
have Gina
standing.
film you opening it?
No, she gets more enjoyment out of that.
Okay.
I'll get to play with Galactus forever.
Okay, that's true.
She was putting her face everywhere the camera possibly was. It was really funny. And there's even one story where I'm showing off everything that it comes with.
Uh-huh.
And then it gets to her face. I'm like, I guess Gina comes with this too.
Yes. It comes with a Gina face.
Everybody gets a Gina. It's something to see in person.
I am excited to see it. Yeah.
It'll be there Sunday. I wanted to leave it for the other employees to
You're
see
going to
as
leave
well.
it when you're not there?
I'm not there right now.
No, but I mean days you're not working.
Yeah.
Like you're working tomorrow, so like I
Sure.
assumed it would still be there, but I didn't assume you would leave
Yeah, but
it.
I'm going out right from the store tomorrow. I don't want to leave it in the car.
That's
I
true.
don't
That's a good
trust
point.
that. He might
All right.
take over.
All right. Well, I'm definitely going to play with him on Sunday then.
I expect you to. That's why he's there. Because you can't touch him here.
Okay.
Actually, I was thinking, I forget the name of it now. Literally, as I was about to say the sentence, I lost the name for this. The back half is Dolph. What kind of shelf?
Detolf.
So
I don't know if he fits in a Detolf.
if somebody gets an entirely new Detolf that has a shelf missing,
He'll fit in there. He'll definitely fit in there.
See?
That's true. Yeah.
And then the heralds can go on top or on the bottom or whatever. Yeah, just saying, just saying.
We'll see if that happens.
If somebody gets a full Detolf,
That might happen before the end of November.
yeah. This was a weird Instagram day because I pitched to everybody how great the Banshees of Inisherin was as a movie.
So good.
And a brand new band, the Temps, had their debut single released today called No No. So I posted about that as well.
Nice.
And then the rest of the feed is just Galactus, Galactus, Galactus.
I mean, it's exciting. Like, you've been waiting for Galactus for... Has it been a year?
Maybe a year. I don't know. I don't remember. That's why this is such a joy because
HasLabs don't turn around that
I
fast.
paid for it so long ago.
Yeah, it's like a gift that you from the past bought you in the future.
Gina today said, I hope I'm here when your Doctor Strange comes in, the sideshow Doctor Strange.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes in a year from now.
Yep.
And I said, what do you mean? Is somebody trying to tell me? And she's like, no, I hope I'm working that day. What do you mean? Will you still be here in a year? Gina, what's happening?
Yeah, no, it's... anytime I pre-order something that's coming out more than 6 months in the future, it's like, this is unfair. It's like, it's like I'm not benefiting from it because it's going to happen so far in the future that I'll have long since forgotten about it.
The you who wanted it has died. You're a whole new you now.
True.
And the thing with Doctor Strange is they did it where you just had to put a deposit down.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, I'm paying this off now.
Oof.
Because I do not want that bill to hit, because it'll hit at a really inopportune time. I will still have to pay for shipping, but fine.
Yeah. I can't imagine it's going to be that gigantic a box.
No, he's a much smaller figure than Galactus.
I just mean even relative to like other Hot Toys stuff.
I had sent David Harper a picture of me and my special boy. And
Your favorite son.
He said that's either a really small Galactus or a really large Patrick.
It's a good comment.
Technically, he's my and Gina's son. Although, to be fair, half of that Galactus is now legally owned by Gustavo Duarte.
Is that right? Why?
Yeah, well, because he really wanted one, but he wasn't allowed to get it. Mm-hmm. So I told him he could have half of mine, and he can come visit him whenever he wants.
Sure. I think, genealogy-wise, I think he's Gina's son and your younger brother. I think that's how that works.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris Jericho.
Thank you, Chris Jericho, yes. These are your dads, and I'm like your older brother. Good times. Well, from here, Dow and I are on the way to the Blockhouse Gallery, and you don't know how many things I had to do mentally today to remember the words Blockhouse, because I kept calling it the Heartland Gallery, and I have no idea where that came from.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's not called that at all. For an art exhibit that's opening in 5 minutes from right now when we're recording, called Excelsior, and it is all Marvel characters, and it is all Chicago artists, and each artist had to pick their character, And Samantha and I were lucky enough to have two of the people who were running it come in the store last weekend as they were driving around picking up the art. And so they showed us a couple of the pieces. And while I'm unfamiliar with a lot of the artists in it, Steve Seeley has a triple Daredevil piece in it.
Cool.
And this show looks phenomenal. So either Dal and I will talk about it in the car on the way back, or we'll talk about it next week. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you'll find out momentarily.
Right. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
See, we'll plug that in either way.
Yeah.
That's the clever part.
Yeah.
We're so clever.
I've been saying it this entire podcast, and you just weren't listening.
Well, you know what I've been saying this whole season. Happy birthday. That's a Taskmaster joke.
Oh, okay.
It's a really funny Taskmaster joke.
I'm glad that the Taskmaster fans listening to this will have a good laugh.
I know at least two of them who will. The correct answer is go big or go home. But I was going to actually say, I hunger. Because of Galactus. It ties it all together.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.